Welcome to NightCap Live. I'm Dan Dunn, and it is my sworn duty to help you help yourself to some whiskey. Yeah, you're welcome. This show is being brought to you by Flaviar because Flaviar is just that cool. They really are. And on behalf of everyone at Flaviar, I'm sending out all the good vibes we can, especially to anyone who's having a particularly hard time during this particularly hard time. Hang in there. We're going to get through this. Since we're going to be hanging out, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the former drinks columnist for Playboy magazine, written for a few TV shows. I had a show on Sirius XM called Happy Hour. I'm the resident drinks expert on the Adam Carolla Show, and I'm the host of the podcast, What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn. It's available everywhere podcasts stream. Also, if you like looking at pictures, feel free to check out mine on the Instagram at The Imbiber. That's also my Twitter handle. Joining me momentarily will be actor Colin Donnell, who starred on the CW hit Arrow, Showtime's The Affair, and NBC's Chicago Med, which I should add happens to be the best of all 27 NBC shows that are set in Chicago. I'm also going to be kicking it with Teeling Irish Whiskey's global ambassador, Rob Caldwell. He's going to tell us everything there is to know about Teeling and also reveal what a global ambassador does when he's not allowed to leave his apartment. His answer will shock you. Me, Colin, and Rob want to hear from you throughout, so I invite you to chime in. You can submit questions and comments via the comments box under the live stream, down, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can live throughout this broadcast. We're going to have a contest tonight. You know, those of you who've been here before know that we do a contest. And the prize is a quarterly Flaviar membership. Flaviar, of course, is a premium spirits club. You get curated tasting boxes every quarter. You get a full-size bottle with that. There's exclusive limited editions and brands available to members only. And, of course, much more. So here's how you can win. Irish whiskey is the theme tonight. And since your host, me, has seen Ireland's own U2 in concert 50 times, 50. That's right, 50. Feel free to start firing off those snarky comments now. So here's how you can win the Flaviar membership. I want you to write in with the top 3 songs to see U2 play live in concert. I'm talking about their best 3 songs overall. I'm talking about the 3 best that they do live. Anybody who's seen them live should know the answer to this question. I already do. And if you do too, you might be our winner. And we'll be announcing that at the end of this broadcast. So as mentioned, we're tasting Teeling Irish Whiskey. Here it is, Teeling. I was just there at the distillery in Dublin in February, which feels like a lifetime ago, but it was just February. And man, it's something else. The 3 expressions we're going to be sampling are the small batch Teeling, the single grain Teeling, and Teeling single malt. Just to give you a little bit of background on the brand, it goes back to 1782 when Walter Teeling set up a small craft distillery on Marrowbone Lane in the heart of Dublin. And in 2015, brothers Jack and Stephen Teeling opened the new Teeling distillery, whiskey distillery, just down the road from where the original family distillery once stood. And it is the first new distillery in Dublin in over 125 years. Crazy. All right. I guess we should get to our guest. He's an actor who's been in, I just told you what he was in. Pay attention. He's got a new movie called Almost Love that is available for purchase on, the places where you buy movies to watch. And that's what we're doing these days. Thad, can we roll a clip from that movie?
These past 3 weeks, getting to know you have been amazing, and it's something that
You're making me nervous.
I'm homeless.
I'm sorry, what now?
We wrap this up to go?
Sure.
All right, I'm very happy to welcome Colin Donnell to the show. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Hanging in there. How is life in quarantine for you?
It's not so bad. My wife is just about 26 weeks pregnant and has spent the last 2 weeks. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, she spent the last 2 weeks being sick. So we've had a rough little patch the last couple of weeks. But otherwise, all things considered, we're doing pretty well.
She's doing better now.
She is doing better now. She emerged from the bedroom and made it all the way downstairs today, which was honestly a big step in the right direction.
That's fantastic to hear, man. Well, send her my best.
Thank you.
Are you, how would you say your knowledge is of Irish whiskey?
I am on the lower end of the spectrum of Irish whiskey knowledge. I am a big whiskey fan, but I think I just don't know that much about Irish whiskey. I'm excited to find out.
Well, it's pretty fascinating story because Irish whiskey was a category that was very popular in the early 20th century. Probably about 60% of all the whiskey that was drunk in the world was Irish whiskey, okay? And then a couple of things happened to Irish whiskey that really devastated it. There was the War of Independence with England from 1916 to 1921, which that was their main trade partner, gone. Obviously, then we had Prohibition in the United States, that dark period from 1920 to 1933. Mm-hmm. And if that pretty much threw the shovel full of dirt on top of Irish whiskey. And then really by the latter part of the 20th century, the category was all but obsolete. There were about 4 commercially available whiskeys in the world, Irish whiskeys, and they were being made at one distillery. But then in the in the 80s, some things started to pick up again, and it started to happen a little bit more. And then when the craft cocktail movement resurgence came along, a lot of the bartenders and bar owners started to rediscover Irish whiskey. And today, I'm happy to say, like I said, I was just over there in February, it's booming. They're opening distilleries up all over, and obviously Teeling is a just beautiful facility right in the middle of Dublin. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I got for you, man. And when we talk to Rob in a couple minutes, he'll be able to tell you way more. But before we jump there, real quickly, I want to get to so your shows, Arrow. We were talking off air. Big fan of The Affair.
Appreciate it.
Affair. You were on that for a few years.
Mm-hmm. I did the first 2 seasons of that show. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about it, but I don't want to spoil. I don't want to give a spoiler because there's probably people. You should watch The Affair. I can't say anymore. Damn it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I only lasted 2 seasons, so people can sort of make their own conclusions about what happened.
Surmise what happened, and then Chicago Med. Tell us a little bit about that.
I spent 5 seasons on that show, or 4 seasons, and then came back for the beginning of the 5th season. Yeah, I had a great run on the Chicago shows. It's pretty amazing. You were joking that there's 20 some odd Chicago shows on NBC, but they really it's a whole universe of Chicago shows there. It's pretty spectacular. I mean, people think of the Marvel universe and the DC comic universe on the CW and things like that, but Dick Wolf has created this own world of television in Chicago, and it was a really cool thing to be a part of.
That's great. And how about the new movie, Almost Love?
The new movie was written and directed by a dear friend of mine named Mike Doyle, and it just came out on April 3rd, available everywhere. It's a great romantic comedy about a group of friends living in New York City, and they're all at various points in relationships. And it's a really wonderfully funny, sweet movie that's sort of perfect for consuming in these times.
Sure. Do you find when you watch shows and movies now while you're in quarantine, does it feel weird when you see people embracing, kissing, hugging? And I find myself going whoa, what are you doing? Stop.
Yeah. Did you take their temperature first?
Yeah. Just after this short period of time, it's become normalized, what we're going through right now. It was but in a way, I mean, it's really great to go back and watch things that were what things were like before this happened.
Yeah. I mean, look, you talk about seeing things on TV. Every time I touch my face now, I'm conscious of it. And every time I sneeze and it's not into the crook of my elbow, I'm looking for somebody to apologize to. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly we've sort of adjusted to this new normal. or new now, as people are saying. I think, there is going to be a next normal for sure.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm ready to have some whiskey.
Yep.
All right, man. I teed that up. Now we're ready to have some whiskey. And the man that we should do that with to sort of lead us through this tasting we're doing, he is the global ambassador for Teeling Irish whiskey, Rob Caldwell. Rob, are you there?
Hi, guys. How are you doing? Thanks for having me. Good. How are you?
Where are you?
I'm in Dublin. I don't know if you can tell. It's midnight for me in Dublin here. So it's a little dark, but we're doing our best. And what better way to spend midnight than drinking whiskey with some cool chaps?
That's an odd Irish accent you have there, though. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Australia, traveled around, was a bit of a nomadic bartender for about 20 years. Came to Ireland in about 2011 and met my two loves, my Irish girlfriend and Irish whiskey.
Great. Yeah. And you've been with Teeling for how long?
Just over 2 years.
Okay. Is it okay if we pour some whiskey right now?
More than okay. Yeah, it's a great idea. Let's pour some whiskey and talk about some whiskey.
You read my mind. And we're going to start off with the small batch, right?
We are indeed, yes. Small batch is our flagship product, so it's a premium Irish blend.
By the way, anybody that has this at home, I'm inviting you now. Get your bottle out. Let's do this. Let's taste this together. Rob's going to give us the skinny on this. So we're going to do this neat, right? Right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, definitely taste it neat as it was intended, but I've got a couple of drops of water and a straw here. So taste it neat a couple of times, really kind of let it wash over the palate. And then don't be afraid to add a couple of drops of water as well. Really open it up.
Okay. What about nosing the whiskey? Any advice on how to nose an Irish whiskey?
Yeah, definitely don't just whack your nose in the glass and take a big breath in. Definitely approach the glass a little bit slowly bring it towards your face. Keep your mouth open. Just breathe the aroma wafting off the top of the glass. Allow those aromas come in. Really important to remember that aroma is a big part of flavor. Best example of that is Skittles. Grab some Skittles and eat them with your nose pinned shut. You don't taste anything because all the flavor comes from the aroma of that candy.
Yeah. Well, smells great. I'm ready to try a little bit here. Can I get a Sláinte?
Sláinte.
Oh, everybody out there as well?
All right. That's really nice.
So tell us about this, Rob.
So what we've got here is, so Jack and Stephen Teeling, you've mentioned. I'm just catching myself up on, don't want to overshare what you've already broken down. But the lads, the immediate Teeling family have been in the whiskey industry since the 1980s. They opened the first new distillery in Dublin in 125 years. So Irish whiskey, as you said, absolutely booming. One of the fastest growing spirits categories the last 5 years. Just to understate, the history that you were talking about, the first whiskey we released from Dublin, first whiskey to be made in Dublin in almost 50 years, broke the world record for the most ever spent on a new distillery's whiskey. So it was 10,000 British sterling. So it's not a brag on what we're doing. It's more a piece of history, and it's showcasing the interest in the growth and the rebirth and the renaissance of Irish whiskey. So basically, that's what we're trying to do, is really bring back that premium aspect. We like to think of ourselves as a global whiskey that just happens to be from Dublin. We don't want to be defined by the category because, globally, people still look at the Irish category as one green brand. So we're just doing a lot of experimentation, focusing on flavor and putting the best whiskey we can into the bottle. And luckily, we won World's Best Single Malt last year. So first Irish whiskey to ever win World's Best Single Malt. So yay.
Congratulations.
It's fantastic.
Now, this particular small batch.
Yep.
How does this differ from what we're going to be tasting later?
So this would, compared to the other two whiskeys we're going to try, this has a little bit more similarities to those market-leading blends that you're probably well aware of. Where it differs, however, is we don't just take the two separate products of a grain whiskey and a malt whiskey and straight into the glass. We did a lot of experimentation in a marrying vessel. So think of it like chili, where you make a chili and then the second day it's even better. The third day it's even better. You've had time for those two separate products to become something new entirely. So we did experimentation and we marry our two whiskeys in Central American rum casks. So think of it like twice aged, twice blended. That way, it gives us 2 bites of the cherry to ensure the 3 flavor components are represented in the final product. So a lovely rum raisin nose, that kind of grain whiskey. It's non-GMO corn from France, providing a structure or a backbone, and then malt whiskey kind of layering on top of that. So yeah, really good balance of these 3 significant flavors.
Fantastic. And by the way, anybody out there, if you have any questions for Rob or Colin or me, fire them off in the comments section. We'll jump and get to those. Colin, what do you think of the whiskey?
I think it's fantastic. I was wondering what that sort of dried fruit flavor was, but the rum raisin is really cool.
And that's coming right from the barrel, right, Rob?
Yeah. Central American rum barrel. So think of like the dried fruit characteristics. Like Colin said, I get a lot of date, fig, apricot, certainly rum raisin, and then like a hint of clove in the finish.
You know who's not getting a lot of dates? Me these days. Bad time to bring this up? No.
No. Great time.
We'll talk about it later. Anyway, yeah. Had to tee that one up for me, my friend.
I'm getting a fair few dates. Last night we went to the living room. The weekend before.
I've been living the single life downstairs, which I felt super terrible when my wife came downstairs this morning. I was like, oh, she walked into the bachelor pad.
Are you guys cleaning? You would think the place would be spotless, but I just can't bring myself to.
I'm barely showering. I feel as though like I put something up on Instagram the other day about this charity that I have going on and this partnership that we've been doing. And I realized that I was wearing a sweatshirt that was the exact same one that I had just posted the day before. And I felt the need to clarify to anybody that was watching that it was a different sweatshirt. I don't know why. I feel like maybe somebody out there was going to judge me, but actually I feel like people are probably cutting some slack these days.
And the beard too, right? I mean, we all have them going. For me, it's just something to do. It's like, oh, tomorrow I'll be able to look in my beard and see how it's doing. So there's a minute out of my day. Like one thing that I've had. Sometimes I check at night. Yeah, progress.
You guys should feel special. I actually cleaned up the edges of my beard today just for you. So
looks good, man. It looks good. Got a question here from Rob in Philadelphia. What about the finish? The same name, Rob. To you, Rob. Talk a little bit about the finish on this whiskey.
Yeah, of course. So you've got a nice kind of long finish. We're really kind of well known for the structure that Alex Chasko, our master distiller, master blender, really kind of builds out. You want to start from the nose, give a nice kind of palate to the whiskey, and then a super long finish. A lot of warming characters that you kind of expect from a class whiskey, but that balance of the malt, the structure of the malt, the dried fruits from the Central American rum, really kind of mingle together and leave a lasting impression and make you want another sip, most certainly.
Okay. Another one from Monica in Los Angeles. Los Angeles wants to know, what's the main difference between Irish whiskey and Scotch?
Well, we're going to get into that, I guess, when we talk about the single malt, but there is no productional differences. I kind of liken it to how different countries kind of gravitate towards different foods. So there's no productional differences per se, or no kind of legislation or productional differences per se between Irish and Scottish whiskey. It's just certain parts of Scotland choose to really highlight that peaty, smoky quality. But if you go to different areas of Scotland, say the Lowlands or the Low Highlands, they're producing a whiskey that's somewhat similar to Irish single malts.
Okay. Wouldn't you say, and Colin, this is for you, do you find that Irish whiskey is a little bit more approachable maybe than?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I always get a little intimidated by going down the Scotch hole. And I feel like Irish whiskeys have always been one that I could point to at a bar, and I know that I'm going to get a great, solid, quintessential whiskey, and without having to know the specific region to go to or the, a flavor profile that I absolutely love and without getting very specific about things. Not that Irish whiskey isn't super complex and lovingly specific, but it's something that you can come to more easily, I think.
Yeah. We got a question here from Con Hine on YouTube. He says, have you gents had exposure to mixed char staves spirits? Opinions on its value to spirits characteristics. So he's talking about barrels. Yeah,
I think he's talking about zebra casks. So basically the staves of the barrels essentially are made up of different wood types. So in Ireland, we can use other non-porous hardwoods in the maturation of our whiskey. So think of beyond oak. So your acacias, your cherry woods, your amburana, your different kind of subspecies of oak, Mizunura, Chicopian, and the like, and Hungarian oak. And so what some distillers are doing is either changing the barrel tops, changing the staves, because there's a lot of variation of flavor that we're really only scratching the surface of. As you know, the whiskey industry is a marathon, not a sprint. So any kind of innovation that happens can potentially take, 12, 20, 30 years. So that's what a lot of us are doing now is starting that innovation and really kind of discovering flavor. So it's something we've worked on, but yeah, like there's a lot of flavor out there to really kind of extrapolate.
Yeah. No. Rob, are you? Oh, sorry.
No.
Well, I was gonna say, are you guys using mostly second use barrels, or is it new oak barrel or new wood barrels, or what?
Well, Teeling, we've kind of led the way in a lot of experimental casks. We've used up to 100 different casks in the maturation of our whiskeys. All the different wine seasonings you can do, Pinot de Charente to Muscat and Cabernet Sauvignon, white Burgundy, and so on and so forth. The different spirits categories. So we said this was Central American rum. This kind of evolved, our small batch kind of evolved out into a lot of people asking what rum you finished this in. So we did the experiment. We took the same small batch blend and put it into different styles of rum casks and explored what each different style of rum does to our whiskey. And then that kind of evolved into gin and ginger beer and akavit and vermouth. And we like to experiment.
A guy named Charles Manning on Facebook said, Colin, when are you coming back to Chicago Med?
I don't know.
Nobody knows when they're going back to anything, Charles.
Yeah.
Right to you. The call's coming. Wait, it's your agent right now. See you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, wanted to know. I threw it out there. So, by the way, we got a bunch more questions coming in. Should we jump on to the next whiskey?
Sure.
That one's going to be, what are we doing second?
Teeling single grain is our second whiskey. So it's the clear bottle that you guys have. So this one right here.
Yeah,
mine was already open. I apologize.
There it is, everybody.
Strangely enough, mine's already open too.
Hey, this is it. By the way, Rob, tell people what the difference between a clear bottle and a dark bottle. Like, what goes into the thought process there? So why do you have this one, which is opaque, we can't see, and then why do you have this one?
Yeah, of course. So the darker bottle is actually traditional dark green. So that would have been kind of the coloration of Irish whiskies back in the day. So our bottle shape and everything is obviously designed to kind of emphasize that. With the clear bottle, all of our whiskeys, so I should have mentioned earlier, all of our whiskeys kind of focusing on flavor. They're 46% ABV or 92 proof. And they're also not colored either. So when we go back to this clear bottle, we're really proud of the color of this whiskey, and this will go back into the introduction. This is naturally colored, so there's no caramel coloring, there's no artificial coloring in this whiskey. This is beautiful ruby-like color comes from the Cabernet Sauvignon casks from Napa Valley that the whiskey spent inside those casks, kind of breathing in the grains and the tannins of Cabernet Sauvignon.
When I was over at Teeling a couple months ago, and I was having a tasting with Stephen Teeling, I got to tell you, this single grain was the one that just really surprised me and jumped out. I mean, they're all super flavorful, but this one was one that I didn't know what to expect from it. So let's talk a little bit about this. Where this came from.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, a lot of bourbon fans, and I'm going to hazard a guess that you like American whiskeys. A lot of American whiskey fans tend to gravitate towards this particular whiskey in that it's kind of very structurally similar to American bourbon. This is 95% corn, column distilled, so up until a point, pretty similar to bourbon, but where it differs, however, is that maturation. So it doesn't get aged in virgin American oak cask, instead going to that Californian Cabernet Sauvignon. So up until a point, quite structurally similar, has a lot of commonality to American bourbons or some American bourbons, that kind of sweet, silky like mouthfeel, vanilla, butterscotch, toffee, and then the finish and the kind of palate, that astringency from the tannins of red Cabernet Sauvignon really kind of comes back and balances it out. And obviously it's Irish.
Colin, what are you getting between this one and the first one?
I love it. It's the nose is a lot of I get a lot of like berry fruits, like blackberry and a little cherry, maybe.
Yeah, no, 100%.
This one's a little bit more lively, and what I mean by that is it feels a little bit more like buoyant to me, a little bit more of a lighter, would you agree with that one? Or
we lovingly refer to this one as a breakfast whiskey. I would definitely encourage moderate drinking, but it's, it goes great with porridge.
You're going to drink at breakfast. Do it in moderation. Don't drink it. Don't, Colin. Don't do it.
I tell you, it's 9 a.m. where I am. So, and I'm a huge. I mostly drink bourbon and rye. So this one is like, it's near and dear to my heart very quickly.
And there's a question we got, by the way, along these lines from Facebook. Corey M. Freeze wants to know, he says, I've heard American oak infuses the whiskey differently than UK oak. Is that true? By, infuse, I think he means what you're drawing out of the wood, obviously. We want to speak to that, Rob?
Yeah, of course. So each different kind of strain of wood or strain of oak provides kind of different tannins and flavors that you're going to get. So you're obviously going to get the flavor of the wood, the flavor of the charring. So American oaks, most kind of American white oak tends to be that charred barrel. Think of it like a creme brulee, where you char the sugar on top of the creme brulee, same as the inside of a barrel. That releases a chemical compound called vanillin. So a lot of sweetness. Those flavors I mentioned earlier, the vanilla, butterscotch, toffee, caramel, a lot of that comes from that vanillin from charred American oak casks. And American oak, a little bit more porous and a little bit more okay to the whiskey kind of breathing in and out over the course of summer or winter. Whereas European oak has a little bit more kind of astringent tannins, a little bit more kind of that red wine kind of side of the palate, under the palate, kind of pulling the moisture away, tannic quality to it. So yeah, 100% difference between European oak and American white oak.
Rob, where do you get your Cabernet barrels from?
So it's Napa. So we kind of source a lot of them. So you go through a wholesaler, a barrel wholesaler. It's their job to kind of secure good quality casks. You only really know where they came from if the winery has stamped the side of them. Nowadays, you have people kind of shaving them off just to kind of, but we've seen, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but we've seen stamped barrels in the past from Frank's, Rombauer, Colgan, all those kind of really well-known Napa Valley vineyards.
Very cool.
And by the way, what can we do with this in a cocktail?
So, like I said, this and you guys kind of mirrored it. It's a light one. It's delicate. It has those kind of quite delicate flavor notes. I think it's great in a tonic. So Teeling a tonic, a nice highball, and then kind of bringing out those berry notes that Colin mentioned with maybe a squeeze of pink grapefruit. Just a super simple one, not kind of reinvent the wheel. And then probably a little bit more complex, mint julep. So mint julep well, great American whiskey cocktail. crushed ice, mint, a little bit of sugar, and a double measure of Teeling single grain.
Beautiful.
Do we get to wear the hat while we're doing it?
Of course.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta,
is it a wear a hat?
I would love to dress up and do that. Carrie Harrison on YouTube is asking, is there a meat or food pairing that you recommend? Carrie, meat is food, by the way. I'm just going to put that out. All right. I'm being the jerk now. I'm sorry. Is there a food pairing you do with this whiskey?
Well, yeah, we've done a few. We really like to kind of stretch the boundaries of it. I've been thrown in the deep end and done a cheese pairing. I was in Chicago. It was great fun. We did a chocolate pairing, the kind of obvious ones, but we did a 5-course meal at a Chinese restaurant where we got the chefs. We sent them the whiskey. We sent them the tasty notes. We went in a week before. We kind of sat down, had a meal, the two of us, which was great fun. Paired out a meal. We're always open to trying new and different things. We've done a pairing dinner at Michelin star restaurants, at craft beer bars. There's no kind of end to what you can really get away with. Like you guys are saying, Irish whiskey, the demographic for Irish whiskey is far broader, far more feminine, far younger than a lot of other whiskey categories, and they're a little bit more open to trying new things. So cocktails, on ice, however you want to drink Irish whiskey is up to you.
Just by the way, I want to remind you out there, we are giving away a Flaviar membership at the end of this episode. And to win that, what I want you to do in the comment section, the 3 best U2 songs that they perform live. There's a definite answer to this question, by the way. The 3 best. Colin, have you ever seen U2?
I've never seen them, and I just can't get over the number of times that you've seen them.
50.
That's a lot.
I met The Edge once at the Sundance Film Festival, and this is years ago. I'd probably seen him about 35 times at that point. And I went up to him. It was at the end of a movie screening, and I went up and I mentioned that fact that I'd seen him 35 times. And without missing a beat, The Edge said, "Thanks for the money." And then he gave me the finger and walked away. No, I'm kidding. He was very nice. And Rob, you've not seen them?
No, I have not seen U2, but I've met Bono. Does that count?
Yeah, I guess.
No.
When you met him?
Yeah, no, he was really cool. I worked for his cousin's business. I worked for his cousin's partner, and he came in and drunk in the bar when I was running a bar at the time. Really cool. Kind of gave him his private room. I didn't want to, interrupt his space. He was having a good time, so I went over, shook his hand. Thanks very much. I'm out, and left him to it.
All right, well, that's it. The Flaviar membership is up for grabs. Top 3 live U2 songs. Top 3.
Yeah, here's a question. Here's a question though, Dan. What is your favorite U2 album?
Ooh, well, I don't want to tip my hand. I feel like if I answer that now, then they might go, "Oh, this is his favorite album. He's probably going to pick one of those songs from that album for his list." All right, I'll tell you. I like Octung Baby, to be honest with you.
Okay.
If I had to go, I'd probably go Octung Baby.
Okay.
I'm not saying that that's any clue to any of you out there, but it's a clue.
I'm going to go with War, by the way.
War is a great one. You like the early U2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got another question here. This is from David Hillman on YouTube. He's asking, he says, I don't know, is this a question? Oh, it is a question. I have a bottle of Teeling Brabazon bottling single malt, 49.5% matured in sherry cask. It is marvelous. Is it still available, Rob?
I guess that would depend on where you are. So our Brabazon series, like I said before, we do a lot of experimentation. The Brabazon series tend to be a bit more of a traditional flavors and our expression of those traditional flavors. So Brabazon number 1 was influenced by 6 different sherry casks. Brabazon number 2 influenced by 6 different port casks. And yeah, roundabout way of answering your question, we are looking at the 3rd one pretty soon. That's enough I'll say about that. Obviously, the kind of global pandemic has put a halt on new product development. So yeah, I guess depending on where you are in the world, there's still a few kind of going around, and hopefully we'll come back to it in the future. But yeah, concentration was currently on the 3rd in that series.
Okay. What are you thinking? Are we ready for the 3rd whiskey? Colin, you ready over there?
Yes.
100%.
All right. Let me. The third whiskey.
All right.
This I actually have to open. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I can talk about it. Give it a bit of an intro. So single malts. I mentioned earlier that there's no productional differences between Irish and Scottish single malts. Some are triple distilled, some are double distilled in both countries. But what the Irish tend to do is focus more on those fruit-forward flavors. Yes, there are peated Irish whiskies, but they're currently in the minority. We tend to focus a little bit more on those fruit flavors. With Teeling, like I said, we like to experiment with different cask types, and like I said, up to 100 different casks in the maturation of our whiskies. But it's all well and good for me to say that, but unless we can prove how they come together in an award-winning, balanced, finished product, what's the point? So this is a great example of those two things: a fruit-forward Irish single malt and a way to showcase the variance and balance and symphony of all these different flavors coming together in a whiskey experience. So what we have here, an Irish single malt, so from one distillery, 100% malted barley, but then we've got essentially 5 different single malts. So they are all from one distillery, they are all 100% malted barley, but each one is influenced by a different wine-based product. So you have sherry, port, Madeira, Cabernet Sauvignon, and white Burgundy or Chardonnay. So all these different flavors within whiskey are coming together in this balanced kind of cocktail of a whiskey, really kind of showcasing each of these different flavors at different points in your tasting experience.
Dave in Nevada wants to know, when you're tasting several whiskeys, should you drink water in between the whiskeys?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I taste a lot of whiskeys with the work, but yeah, especially when you're kind of going hugely different styles. You know what I mean? Like if you go from Scotch, like a big Ardbeg kind of Lagavulin and Lefroy kind of peaty Scotch, yeah, I would suggest maybe kind of having a glass of water and really kind of allowing that peaty smokiness to kind of dissipate before you maybe say go to that single grain that we tried second. But yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It's palate cleansers, things like that. You know, it depends on how perceptive your palate is. You know, some people really kind of let those flavors linger for a long, long period of time.
Colin, when you're drinking, if you're having Irish whiskey at home, how do you like it neat, or do you want it on ice? Or are you a cocktail guy?
I am at home. I'm just ice usually. When I'm tasting something that I haven't had before, which I'm basically brand new to Teeling, I always like to try it neat. And then from then on, it's always with just a little bit of ice. I love cocktails, but I don't always want to go to the work.
Sure. Well,
it's easier just to open the bottle and pour.
You're a busy guy these days. I mean, what do you know? Yeah. I got to move from the living room to the family room. A lot of things going on today. Yeah.
There's a kitchen at least 10 feet away.
Yeah. By the way, Cleon 207 on YouTube just said, "War is better than Octung Baby." Yeah. Says you, Cleon.
Point for me.
By the way, I think that's Colin's name on YouTube. I'm going to check that and find out.
I've been typing this entire time.
Do you have a Rob? I want to ask you the same question. When you're enjoying Irish whiskey at home, how do you like to drink it?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the experience. It depends on the whiskey. You know, I am partial if it's a nice sunny day. A nice big cube of ice, kind of control the amount of dilution and water that's going to enter the whiskey. But it's sometimes really nice in the few sunny days we get in Ireland to have a whiskey on ice. More often than not, I'm drinking it neat and trying new things. But yeah, cocktails as well. Like Teeling Small Batch, great example of a versatile cocktail whiskey with, you know, highballs, old fashions, whiskey sours, Irish coffees, and even tiki drinks. Highlighting that rum element.
Now here's a question for Rob. So I'm a big Manhattan, very simple cocktail person, like Manhattans, Negronis, things like that. what, like a variation on a theme for a Negroni, which one of these would I use to substitute out for gin? That would be fun.
Yeah, the Teeling small batch or the Teeling single grain both make a hell of a Boulevardier. The Boulevardier kind of like the whiskey version, somewhat different to a Negroni, but that kind of balance there, would 100% work. And then
what's your ratio, by the way? What's your ratio, both of you, when you're doing a Negroni or you're doing a Boulevardier, are you a 1-1-1? And by that, I mean the spirit, the Campari, and the, help me.
Vermouth.
Yeah. I'm a 1-1-1 guy. What about you guys?
I'm 1-1-1.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest. It's the best, I think, drink to order in a bar that you're sort of like on the fence about whether or not they make good cocktails. Because if they don't, if you can see it behind the bar, they can make it, right? So you're like, I'm in the mood for a Negroni. I'm in the mood for a Boulevardier. They don't really do cocktails here, but you're like, just point. 1-1-1.
Yeah.
If they screw it up, you should probably walk out. But
yeah, order a beer.
Yeah.
There's one of the things I was wondering is, obviously people are quarantined now, and what would you say, Rob, that most people would have in their cupboards or in their fridge that they can use in a pinch? You're not going to be able to go out necessarily and get a bunch of ingredients to make an exotic cocktail, very complex cocktail. What do you think most people have now that works with Teeling?
That's a tough one, and we're kind of really trying to solve. We've got my colleague Chris Hayes is doing the simplified version of our distillery cocktails at home. So taking the cocktails we make in the distillery and trying to adapt them to home recipes. But I guess for simplistic terms, everyone has sugar. Probably everyone has chocolate, honey, sweeteners, things like that. So what we did, and you've probably got spices in the spice cabinet, is just changing up your sweetener. So doing an old-fashioned, getting your sugar syrup. So, 50% sugar, 50% boiling water, or hot water, I should say, just hot water, stir it in, and then just microplane or grate some dark chocolate and some nutmeg or some cinnamon, something like that in, and just that little kind of addition to spice will kick the old-fashioned up a notch. So yeah, stir it down with some ice. You don't need a shaker, you don't need fancy equipment. Just get a soup spoon, some ice, your fancy sugar syrup, and a double shot of Teeling small batch, and let the quality whiskey do the talking.
Great. By the way, I've noticed a couple of the entries that are coming in for the contest are listing the same songs, and some of them could be winners. So I'm going to have a tiebreaker now. The tiebreaker is this: of the three of us, rank who's wearing the beard the best. That'll be judged also by me. So keep that in mind when you're making your. You look good. Yeah, it looks good, man. It looks good. We got a question here from Denise Johnston Gustafson. She wants to know if this one that we're having here, the single malt, is this one considered more on the sweeter side of whiskey? And I'm going to let Colin answer that. Go ahead, Colin.
I would say no. I would say the single grain that we had sort of lends itself more towards the sweeter side. I get a little bit more spice through this one than the others, but there is like a nice, I don't know, it's a similar finish to me, maybe. Yeah. My palate is not very good.
I thought the same thing. The single grain was a little sweeter, and yeah, exactly right. Derry M. Sterry, that's right. Rob, this is for you. How is pot still Irish whiskey different from non-pot still? You mentioned the column stills earlier, and what does a pot still add to the flavor profile?
Okay, yeah. So single pot still is actually a recipe or a mash bill. So like the single grain, like the single malt, it's easiest to look at them as two separate words with a full stop in the middle. So single means from one distillery, and grain refers to any combination of grain that isn't malted barley. Malt is obviously 100% malt. Just so luckily, I actually have the single pot still here. So this is the only uniquely Irish style of whiskey. So it's reminiscent of what would have been the preeminent form of whiskey back when you said when Dublin whiskey was in its heyday. And it's known for a measure of unmalted barley. So when the English kind of saw the value in the whiskey industry, they introduced malt taxes, essentially stating you had to pay tax equivalent to the amount of malted barley you used in your whiskey. And the Irish, ever wanting to pay English tax, introduced unmalted barley into the mash bill and inadvertently created their own unique Irish style of whiskey. So now we have just been granted a geographical indicator as to our own style of whiskey. So we're seeing a lot of distilleries making their version of single pot still Irish whiskey.
Okay, fantastic. People coming in here with some wrong answers. Corey M. Freeze on YouTube says Colin Donnell has the best beard. Thomas Rees, I'm saying that wrong. I'm messing that up. Sorry. Dan has the best trimmed beard. Is Colin a monk?
With the shaved head. No, this was my I'm not going to be working for quite some time shaved head.
There it is. I did mine. I trimmed up a little bit. Got a little, I don't know what the back looks like. I did this, but yeah. Brian Nertney on YouTube says Rob, Colin, Dan. Guess who's not winning? Brian Nertney.
Can I vote for Colin?
All right.
Yeah, you can vote for me.
Yeah. I'm jealous. That's a banging beard.
Kevin Hochter on YouTube is asking, how does the flavor profile of Teeling single pot still whiskey compare to Redbreast or Green Spot? There are two other popular whiskeys from Ireland, but
Yeah, so those have been the market leaders for quite some time, and I don't think drawing a comparison is relatively a good idea, given that it wouldn't behoove us to create a copy of what else the other market leaders in the category. So we did our utmost to try and create something new, something distinctly Teeling. So those are 12 years and older, kind of predominantly sherry-influenced single pot stills. Ours, on the other hand, we kind of chose to focus on some other different flavors. So it's 50% malted barley, 50% unmalted barley. That unmalted barley gives a kind of malic, astringent mouthfeel. And what I mean by malic is think of the skins of Granny Smith apples. And we kind of highlighted that with American virgin oak. So a little bit of sweetness there, that vanilla, butterscotch, toffee, caramel on the nose. So when you kind of nose that whiskey, you're greeted with a sense of familiarity. Then we spent 25% of the maturation was in sherry. So again, leaning into that spiciness. So familiarity, and then it goes left turn into spiciness. So really kind of highlighting this is something different. It's not, what you've had before. And then ex-bourbon casks, again, with that nice long finish, molding those two flavors into a nice long kind of finish, encouraging another sip. So yeah, different, very, very different to those other whiskeys, but that's by design.
And by the way, that's one of the things I found when I was going through Ireland on the recent trip, is that there's a real spirit of camaraderie, I find, in Ireland among the distilleries. I think everybody kind of feels like they're in it together. They know what happened to the category, where they came from. Would you agree with that, Rob, or do you think there's a? I was like, no, I want to crush.
I'm going to tiptoe here. No, you're right. So within Ireland, there's some healthy competition because Ireland is a very small island. Everyone knows each other and everyone kind of is competitive. But the minute you leave Ireland, you remind yourself that Irish whiskey, although it's growing, although it's popular, we're still kind of small in comparison to Scotch and the other kind of spirit categories. So there's a stark realization of we need to work together. We need to grow the category. What's best for the category is best for us all. So yeah, within Ireland, playful banter. Outside of Ireland, 100% camaraderie.
Greg Peak wrote in about the beard, the tiebreaker. According to his wife, Colin has the best beard. Yeah,
Thank you, Greg.
Of course, he's an actor. Come on. And then I find interesting. Denise Johnston Gustafson came back in again and said Colin probably because it goes with his accent, which is St. Louis, right? You're from St. Louis or something?
St. Louis. Yeah. I'm from St. Louis.
Hardcore St. Louis accent. That sounds like nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most neutral accent ever.
Yeah, there's literally no accent from St. Louis. I think you might have met Rob, who has a fantastic Irish Australian accent. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. So I gotta give out this prize, guys. You know U2 songs, so you can help out here. Let's go with all right. Marie Fitzpatrick said, "Where the Streets Have No Name," Bad, and Bullet in Blue Sky. That's the wrong name of that song, Marie Fitzpatrick. You were close, but one of those songs does not belong on the list. Sorry. Vincent Chevrier says, "Sunday Bloody Sunday, Bad, 1." Close, but no dice. Let's see. What a jerk I am. Mercedes Arojas says, "With or Without You, still haven't found what I'm looking for, and Where the Streets Have No Name." By the way, guys, how do you feel about these song choices so far?
I feel pretty good. I was intrigued by the Sunday Bloody Sunday answer. But
had you ever, if you were going to see U2, Colin, we'll start with you. If you're going to see U2, what would be the 3 songs you would most want to hear?
Sunday Bloody Sunday. Where the Streets Have No Name, and I Still Haven't Found.
Rob?
Sunday Bloody Sunday, Streets Have No Name, and while Colin was talking, I was racking my brain to try and fit number 3, and I still haven't come there, and I'm still talking, and I still don't have it, so I'm going to leave it blank.
Jay Fury says, "Sunday Bloody Sunday, Bad, All I Want Is You." Very close. Corey Freeze says, "Where the Streets Have No Name, Sunday Bloody Sunday, Running to Stand Still." All right, I'm going to jump. So I don't know that anybody particularly got the 3 best. I hate to break it. I don't know that anybody got what I think are the 3 best. But, oh, wait. Hey, Mike Connealy. Sorry, lads, but Colin wins this one hands down.
It's just because of the bushiness of it.
You have a good year. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to give you that. You win. All right. Okay. The 3 best U2 songs live: Where the Streets Have No Name, Bad, Sunday Bloody Sunday. Those are the 3. Having seen them 50 times, I can tell you that. No one has done that. So Desire, Sunday Bloody Sunday. So guys, I'll ask you, I Will Follow is Pride, and I Will Follow is good. If you don't have Bad on there, you're out. So I'm going to say, I mean, Jay Fury says Sunday Bloody Sunday, Bad, and All I Want Is You. And I do like All I Want Is You, particularly now because I'm feeling so romantic being home alone all the time. I'm actually looking at you guys thinking All I Want Is You. Yeah, I wish you were here. Should we give it to Jay Fury?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I like it.
Jay Fury, shoot those guys in a comment with your info, and you just won yourself a Flaviar membership. Look at you, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Cheers to you.
Oh, what happened? There you go. I lost you guys. This is the part where I start going haywire with my computer. I'm like, where are we at now? Okay. I don't know, guys. Anything you want to add here to wrap things up a little bit?
Oh, do you mind if I plug my the charity that I'm doing?
Yes, we might.
So if you guys see this this logo that I've got on my sweatshirt here, I have partnered with a company called Threadless out of Chicago that they're an apparel company, and they support local artists and independent artists with their own shops. And a buddy of mine runs the company, and he approached me about setting up a charity. The charity that I chose was one called MedShare, and I think that there will be something that might pop up for you guys to look at here about charity. They are a charity that focuses on getting medical supplies to areas in the world where it's needed most. And right now, that is something, it's an organization that's needed now more than ever. So if you go to colindonnell.threadless.com, you can choose from a variety of designs, and they are now making masks, which is something that everybody is looking to wear at the moment. And those proceeds from my shop go directly to MedShare. And Threadless has actually become an official charity partner with MedShare. And they originally set their goal at donating $100,000 from the sale of the masks to MedShare. They hit that goal so quickly that they raised it up to $250,000. So please go and support it. It's a great way to get some awesome swag and double your impact. And, I'm just very happy to be able to contribute a little bit while we're all stuck in our homes.
Fantastic, man. Yeah. Do that. Okay. I want to let everybody know, if you're looking to get some teeling, go out, get it. It's available wherever you can get spirits these days, online, or go down to your local store, wear a mask, wear some gloves, go do that. I want to invite you all, if you haven't done it, check out Flaviar, maybe get that Flaviar membership. They're bringing that right to you. I want to thank, first of all, everybody out there that's watching. I want to thank you for joining us on this. I mean, it's cool to get to spend some time. It's cool to get to spend some time with these guys, to get to spend some time with you. It was a nice hour. I liked it. I had a great time. And I want to thank our guests, Rob Caldwell, the global brand ambassador for Teeling Irish Whiskey. Rob, thank you, man, for staying up late. What time is it over there now in Dublin?
Thanks, Dan. It's 1 a.m., so I think I'm going to have a bit of a lie on tomorrow. But thank you very much for having me. It was great fun.
I really enjoyed talking to you, man, and thanks for laying all that wisdom on us about the whiskey. Colin Donnell, my man, the monk, the beard. You've won the beard competition. Check out Colin's movie Almost Love. Where can they buy that?
Vudu, Amazon Prime, all of the cable streaming networks in the UK on Sky and various other places. Like, it's everywhere, basically.
Okay. And what about you on the social medias? Where do they find you?
You can check me out at Colin Donnell. That's it, all across the board.
Okay. And I'm at the Imbiber, Dan Dunn. Check out my show, What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn. Colin has been roped into coming on to the show. Well, in sometime in the next couple of weeks, What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn, we're going to be drinking with this man right there. And Rob, I'd love to have you on as well, my friend. I want you to join us next week we're going to have Angel's Envy, featuring George Motz, a food personality, author, and burger expert. Who doesn't want a good burger right now? Again, and thank you on behalf of Flaviar. Stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll see you next time.